This is section 6.3. This is part 3. And right now I'm on page 3 of your notes there where we ended up last time. Okay, on this part 2 of section 6.3, we're going to talk about multiplying binomial radical expressions. Okay, so you're going to have two terms with either a plus or a minus in between, essentially. Okay, so when multiplying two binomial radical expressions, you're going to use the FOIL method, or you can use the distributive property, whatever's more comfortable for you. I'm going to show you the FOIL method. Okay, when you use the FOIL method, then once you do that, you're going to want to simplify your radicals and like terms by adding or subtracting them together. Okay, there could be some instances where you're going to have to break down. There's going to be some instances where you're going to have to figure out, okay, are these the same? Are they not the same? I can add these together. I can't add these together. Okay. Remember, you treat radicals like variables when combining them. They have to have the same index and the same number underneath the root. Okay. All right. So let's take a look here at some examples on the next page. Okay. So multiplying binomial radical expressions. This is what is the product of each radical expression. So again, on these, we're going to use the FOIL method. First, outer, inner, last. So as you look here, first times first is 20. Outsides is 16 square root of 2. Inside is 10 square root of 2. And last, 4 times 2 is 8. Square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4. Okay, now I'm going to write these out the long way, and then I'll simplify them as I go. Okay, so now the next step I'm going to do is combine like terms and simplify some things. So these two right here are like terms because they have the same root with the same index. So I've got 20 plus 26 times the square root of 2 plus this right here is really 8 times 2 because the square root of 4 is 2, which makes this 16. Okay, so then I can add these like terms here, 30 or 20 and 16, which is 36, plus 26 times the square root of 2. Now, these two here are not like terms because this one has a square root and this doesn't. So I'm done. My final answer is 36 plus 26 times the square root of 2. Okay, again, using the FOIL method. So, letter B, first times first is 15. Outsides is plus 3 square root 7. Inside is negative 5 square root 7. And last is negative square root of 49, because it's square root of 7 times square root of 7, which is the square root of 49. Okay, so now I'm going to look to simplify here. So I've got 15. These two are like terms. That becomes negative 2 square root 7. And then minus the square root of 49 is 7. So essentially I've got 15 and negative 7, which is 8 minus 2 times the square root of 7. And again, I cannot combine these two because they're not like terms. Okay? All right, so let's talk about conjugates. Conjugates are expressions like the square root of a plus the square root of b and square root of a minus the square root of b. Essentially, they're not really opposites of each other, but they sort of look like they are. Okay, that differ only in the signs in their second terms. Notice the second term is always the opposite of what the first one is. Okay, when a and b are rational numbers, the product of the two radical conjugates is a rational number. So what you'll notice is when you multiply two conjugates together, you do not have any more radicals left in your problem. Okay, and that's going to come in important in part 3. So, conjugates. These guys, we're going to multiply these guys together. Okay, so again, you're going to use FOIL method. First times first is 25. The outsides is positive 5 square root of 7. The insides is negative 5 square root of 7. And last is negative square root of 49. Well, you'll notice these two middle terms are opposites of each other, so they're going to go away. So essentially, you have 25 and minus the square root of 49 is 7. So essentially, 25 minus 7 is 18. And you'll notice in your answer that you no longer have any radicals. Okay, so multiplying conjugates in letter A. First times first is 36. Outside is positive square root 6. Or positive square root of 12. Not 6. Positive square root of 12. Minus 6 times the square root of 12. And then last is the negative square root of 144. Okay? So again, you'll notice these two terms right here are opposites of each other. They're going to go away. So it's 36, and minus the square root of 144 is 12. So my answer is 24. Okay, one more example here. First times first is 9. Outside is negative 3 square root 8. Inside is positive 3 square root 8. And last is the opposite of the square root of 64. So again, these two terms are going to go away, cancel each other out, and I'm left with 9 minus the square root of 64 is 8. So my answer now is 1. Okay? So you can use conjugates to get rid of radicals anywhere you want, which is going to come into play very importantly in part 3. Okay? So we talked about using the FOIL method to multiply binomials, and we also talked about what conjugates are here in part 2. Don't forget to watch part 3 as well. This concludes section 6.3 part 2.